Yo, what's up YouTube family? It's your boy MoneybaggCoo back into with another hot TikTok reaction video. Y'all don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you be notified whenever I drop some new hot content that you definitely don't want to miss. With that said, let's get right to the content. Man. Do you believe Earth is flat or do you believe it is round? Let me know down below in the comment section. This video is going to be very interesting.
Has it ever occurred to anybody why they call it the Arctic Circle?
Anybody?
Tinfoil out.
Anybody?
1955, Operation Deep Freeze. This is just an expansion of High Jump, where more research bases are added to Antarctica. Fast forward a little more, 1958. NASA is established, followed by the proposal of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and the implementation of it in 1961. The treaty basically puts Antarctica off limits to civilians, with the exception of guided tours that are carefully supervised. In 1962, Operation Fishbowl takes place. Now this is where people start thinking that they found the firmament or dome during Operation High Jump or Operation Deep Freeze, because for some reason, they started firing nuclear missiles straight up as if trying to mess with the firmament somehow. And not to mention the name of the project, Fishbowl, easily symbolic for the enclosed nature of our world.
Woo! Man, y'all don't forget these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything that I say. Don't take it for, you know what I'm saying? Just do your own research and use your own discernment. That's what I must say. Do your own research and use your own discernment. What do y'all think? Do you think Agartha is real, and do you think we live under a firmament? If you want to hear more about Admiral Byrd and Agartha, go down to the bottom of my catalog and look for a video called This is Agartha. And I guarantee you, you will be intrigued. Very Now, is it just me, or do you find it strange that Richard Byrd's middle name is Evelyn? Like, isn't that kind of strange? You would think that that's only, that's Evelyn is a female's name. I know he got picked on a lot for that growing up.
It appears that whatever happened in Antarctica, everybody got kind of maybe nervous or excited or whatever and said, okay, what is the deal? We've looked through telescopes. We've seen our so-called neighbors, Venus and Mars, through telescopes. Our assumption is the solar system is, set up in the Copernican model. And, but yet maybe they found a dome and they started to question all that. So the first thing they do is send out probes to go, wait a minute. What in the world? If we're in a dome, how high does this thing go? So they start launching high-altitude nuclear bombs, and if you look at the videos on Operation Fishbowl and Starfish Prime and all those high-altitude tests, I mean, it looks like they're hitting something up there. I mean, at least from a conspiratorial tinfoil hat wearing perspective, that's what it looks like. Now, this is what blew my mind. You can read more on all that if you'd like. To get caught up to speed on what's going on there. So I go to Lubbock, and I'm doing this conference out there at Jared Cressman's father's church, Pastor Dan Cressman, and we get to talking about this whole issue of the flat earth stuff. And he goes, do you know what the name Dominic means? And I said, no. He says, you talk about Operation Fishbowl, but check this out. I'm going to take you to, I'll put the screen share back up here. Take you to one of those name websites I like using, behindthename.com. Look up the name Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C, from the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishbowl was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high-altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord, i.e. the firmament. Yeah, this is definitely one of those things to make you go,
Absolutely. Now y'all might want to pause that and check that out yourself, because that's very interesting, man. Hey, it's a lot going on, man. Like, say, man, we have been bamboozled for sure. Like I always tell y'all, don't fall for the boo-boo, man.
The target centered in the test array. The entire operation was successful, with both the operational and effects test objectives achieved. During this same period, at Johnston Island, the launch center for the high altitude program, deployment of men and instrumentation had proceeded on schedule for a first event early in May. The purpose of the high altitude tests was to gather a wide range of effects data bearing on both the offensive and defensive aspects of nuclear attack upon incoming ballistic missiles, including warhead kill mechanisms and electromagnetic blackout effects on both radar and communications. On mile-long Johnston Island's limited acreage, crowded around and between the runway and ramp areas, were the missile launch complex and a line of more than 30 instrument rocket launchers, together with the many other necessary testing and support facilities. World War II bomb shelters were utilized for housing the command post of the Joint Task Force and other stations manned during the launch events, including those of the Scientific Readiness Team and Launch Control Units. This radar dish, scanning the sky for electromagnetic effects data, is representative of the test equipment set up and operated by the scores of technical projects. The launch vehicle groomed to carry the nuclear warheads to test detonation altitudes was the Thor missile. In the early plans, it was scheduled to do the job for 2 and possibly 3 nighttime bursts at various altitudes above the Earth's atmosphere. For these tests, the Thor was modified to carry 3 scientific instrumentation pods to obtain key data in close proximity to the burst. Each pod was ejected from the launch vehicle at a predetermined position along the missile's trajectory. The Pacific Missile Range ship moored at Johnston tracked the missile in flight for range safety purposes. Other tracking units followed the rocket instrumentation and scientific pods and determined their accurate positions relative to the detonation. Positioned at various distances from Johnston Island were 9 test ships, including the downrange anti-missile measurements program ship American Mariner, on loan from the Atlantic Missile Range. Pod recovery and surveillance ships were also on station, along with an aircraft carrier, whose marine helicopters evacuated from the island all personnel non-essential to the actual operation during each event. But Johnston Island itself was only the hub of an extensive network of land, ship, and aircraft instrument stations radiating in all directions, deep into both northern and southern hemispheres of the Pacific. Between the northern arc of Okinawa, Adak, Fairbanks, and Palo Alto, and the Polynesian islands of Tonga Tapu and Rarotonga, far south of the equator in Johnston Island's southern magnetic conjugate area.
So what you're seeing here is a printout from Wikipedia. And remind you, I'm describing the firmament. There's something called Operation DOMINIC, and if you look at the right, you see that explosion at the right there? That explosion on the right, it says Dominic Chama. I want you to keep an eye on that. You see that? So what happened is, if you look at the last sentence in the first paragraph, it says, the Thor missile was used to lift warheads into near space to conduct high-altitude nuclear explosion tests. These shots were collectively called Operation Fishbowl. So what happened was the government, when they started making missiles that were powerful enough that they thought they could break through the sea of glass, they, during the Cold War, used the Cold War as a tactic for exploding high-altitude missiles to try and break through what they already knew was the dome on the Earth. And I'm going to prove all this to you that the government has always known that the Earth is flat. It lies to us through TV, through the media, through movies. It makes you believe the world is a spinning ball hurtling through space like a marble. They even called it Operation Fishbowl. Does that not make you feel any more like you're in a flat Earth with a bowl on top? They called it Operation Fishbowl, and it was to shoot missiles into space because they thought they had the power to finally break through the firmament. And actually what happens, if you read the rest of the article, these missiles would hit up at a certain altitude, and then light would shine all the way to the other hemisphere. And the reason that was is because they were hitting that glass, and the glass was reflecting it all the way across the sky. It's not some globe Earth where they're just trying. Why would they just shoot a missile in the air to see how high it can blow up? Like, are they just playing with rubber bands? Like, they're doing it for a reason, and they called it Operation Fishbowl for a reason. And also their original name was Dominic Charma, and if you see on your packet, I described what Dominic Charma actually means. Dominic is from the late Roman Italic name Dominicus, and it means belonging to God. And then that word Chama is a fixed, massive, irregular, inequivalent shell. So they originally called it the shell belonging to God, but then they just termed it Operation Fishbowl.
Man, I guess they wasn't worried about the repercussions of the nuclear fallout from this stuff, man. AKA the people. It's crazy, man. These people are wild. So now, I ask you again, do you believe we live under a firmament? I mean, why else would they be doing this, you know? And shout out to the guys who created this, the TikTokers who created this content and put this content together, man. They did an awesome job, man. And I want to appreciate all the love and the support from all my day one subscribers who helped me get this far. And I want to say welcome aboard to all the new subscribers, you know what I mean? Because, hey, yeah, say, man, y'all are the real MVPs, man, for real, for real. The show must go on. Let's get it.
Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. They quickly figured out, not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
Why is it when we review this footage that these things are exploding? It looks like they're hitting a barrier.
Testing the strength of the firmament, and they weren't able to penetrate it.
What's going on there? What is this? In my opinion, I think that they were trying to find a way to possibly get out. There's a firmament above us.
So everything is as above, so below. Obviously, many people are becoming aware that there's a firmament above that many people are now starting to realize is impenetrable.
No matter what you do, you can't go straight up in the air and keep going.
Now think about this. They just told you that it's hitting some type of field up there, man, some type of barrier, and it shows some type of substance or liquid that is, you know, when it hit is, man, those are the waters above. Now think about this. Like I say, they must not be thinking about the repercussions of their actions, because now, if this is true that there's really water up there and they somehow penetrate this firmament, you know what's going to happen, right? The water's going to come down and it's going to flood Earth again. Now, obviously, they not thinking about the people on the planet, because that would drown us all, man. And I'm just speaking facts, man. I mean, just something to think about, something to make your mind wonder, man. So that should tell y'all these people, man, are either just selfish or just demonic, man. Like, come on. That's crazy. Now, something else you should ask yourself. Why would they do that, and why are they trying to get off this planet so bad? What did they discover on this planet or underwater, maybe, that they in a rush or they want to get off this planet so badly? That's just a little something to make your mind wonder. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section.
In 1962, 7 years before they faked the moon landing, Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. they quickly figured out not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
Why is it when we review this footage that these things are exploding? It looks like they're hitting a barrier.
Testing the strength of the firmament, and they weren't able to penetrate it.
What's going on there? What is this? In my opinion, I think that they were trying to find a way to possibly get out. There's a firmament above us.
So everything is as above, so below. Obviously, many people are becoming aware that there's a firmament above that many people are now starting to realize is impenetrable.
No matter what you do, you can't go straight up in the air and keep going.
Now, how many of y'all now believe we live on a globe, a ball just in space, spinning in space? And how many of you believe that we stay on a flat plane or a flat earth? And y'all, let's get them likes up, man. You know what I'm saying? It's over 68.5% of you watching and don't want to hit the like button. It's free. It's not going to cost you nothing, man. It's free. And you can subscribe to it. It's all free.
XM-33. Thor, launched by a pod-carrying Thor missile. Its yield was 1.4 megatons.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
Look at that.
The weapon airdrops were made off the southeast shoreline of Christmas Island. The air array was controlled from the Joint Operations Center, housing the command post, the Air Operations Center, and units associated with control of all drop and test elements. Additional radar apparatus located at A site plotted the precise second-by-second position of the drop aircraft during the bomb run, to assure that the device would fall within the finite time and space limitations set by scientific and safety requirements. This plot information was relayed directly to the Joint Operations Center by a microwave television link, providing the Air Task Group commander with instantaneous positive information on which to base his operational decisions. Also at A site, as well as at other locations on the island, basic diagnostic instrumentation housed in trailers was positioned to secure data associated with the detonation. Special tracking radars assisted this diagnostic array by assuring they were oriented toward the nuclear device on its trajectory from the instant of release to detonation. Optically and electronically, the trailer diagnostic instrumentation recorded the most minute detail of each detonation in millionth of a second segments for scientific analysis. Under the precise positioning of the Air Operations Center, various types of aircraft also gathered additional diagnostic and weapon effects information. 2 modified C-130s were platforms for fireball measurements with high-speed cameras. They also carried other instrumentation to record data on internal device behavior. This technique, rudimentary at the start, was perfected to a high degree of effectiveness during the Christmas airdrops. Control aircraft backed up the Air Operations Center's positioning of the air array, along with checking out the feasibility of an all-airborne diagnostic concept. Other aircraft recorded thermal radiation, radar attenuation, and chorioretinal effects for eye damage studies. Specially instrumented KC-135 aircraft also recorded a variety of experimental data. Aloft, too, were search and rescue aircraft and photographic planes documenting the Dominic detonations. After each shot, B-57 sampler aircraft went aloft, as they had in operations of years past, to fulfill one of the chief diagnostic functions of each event, stalking the radioactive cloud to obtain particulate and gaseous samples for radiochemical analysis. Throughout the Dominic tests, maximum security was maintained around the Christmas and Johnston Island test area boundaries by the Navy destroyer and P-2V watchdogs. Round the clock, throughout the entire test period, the P-2V aerial fence riders rose from their Christmas and Johnston bases for their 10 to 12-hour runs, in constant touch with the destroyers below. Daily, they greeted the Soviet instrumentation trawlers, which for 7 weeks lurked just beyond the danger zone periphery. On 23 April, the President directed the waiting task force to proceed with the first shot, a weapon development drop. The initial airdrop was on the 25th of April, and the last on 11 July. During this period, a total of 24 weapon development shots were detonated in the Christmas area. All drops were on target and within the precise time and space limitations established by the requirements of diagnostic instrumentation, a record by the B-52 crews, which reflected a high degree of bombardment skill. Detonation technological efficiency also scored high in the fusing and firing systems and in the device telemetry. Throughout the Christmas airdrops, the backup airborne diagnostic method was progressively refined to the point of becoming a proven capability to collect the scientific data required. The weapon development effort was completely successful in all its primary test objectives. The series also yielded important new weapons effects information. Meanwhile, the task force was equally active at its 3 other test areas. Early in May, the test of the Polaris nuclear weapon system was ready for launch by submarine in the open sea. Detonation was scheduled to take place in the Christmas danger area. As the nuclear submarine Ethan Allen moved toward its rendezvous with range, safety, and instrument ships at the launch point some 1,500 miles from Christmas Island, all concerned were well aware that this was not only the first test of the complete Polaris nuclear system, but also the first proof test of this particular warhead in weaponized form. On the 6th of May, the Polaris was fired. Two submarines near the burst area, together with orbiting Christmas-based aircraft, confirmed that the warhead detonated on target at expected yield. The first proof test of a United States ballistic missile nuclear warhead in its full re-entry environment was completely successful. Meanwhile, a group of task force ships several hundred miles off the Southern California coast were completing preparations for the ASROC event. This test had a dual purpose. It provided a system test for the nuclear ASROC anti-submarine weapon system, and also a major underwater nuclear effects test using a heavily instrumented test array. 11 May. With test equipment ready, the destroyer Agarhole moved on station. Her regular crew selected an unmodified stock ASROC and lofted its nuclear warhead,
providing us with an improved understanding of such effects.
Now, once again, if you can't tell, these people were very determined to breach this firmament, man. It's so crazy, man. They went to all lengths. If you can't tell so far, watch this video. And once again, if you want to find out more, and if you're intrigued and you want to find out more about the firmament and the NASA situation, go down my catalog and search up and find a video that says the title, "This is NASA." And if you want to find out more about Operation Fishbowl, man, I'm telling you, they're very intriguing videos and very informative. Look down my catalog and there's a video title called Operation Fishbowl, and I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Hey, y'all, don't forget to hit that like button on those videos, man. It's much appreciated.
It is also clear at this point in that analysis that there remain gaps in our experimental data which can only be closed by further tests.
In addition to the airdrops themselves, there was another aspect to the operation of special interest. This was diagnostic measurement by an airborne instrument array instead of the usual primary reliance upon ground-based instrumentation.
The scheme for using an airborne test instrumentation array had been used during the Christmas Island series in a trial and backup role. There were some initial disappointments, but as the series progressed, its effectiveness steadily improved. By the end of that operation, the program had advanced to a point which justified going ahead with the added airdrop events at Johnston with the air array as the primary and only available method of obtaining much of the needed data. The plan provided for an airborne package made up of the B-52 drop aircraft, C-130 and KC-135s carrying special instrumentation and camera setups for diagnostic studies, the RC-121s for primary and secondary control of the air array, C-118 effects aircraft for the conduct of chorioretinal burn experiments, the B-57D sampler controller, airborne to direct the sampling missions, and the B-57 samplers for cloud penetration missions to obtain samples for the laboratories. The entire array was under the control of the Air Task Group Commander in one of the RC-121s. Surface support for the air array consisted of destroyers patrolling in the danger area to ensure that no unauthorized ships were within the restricted zone. Target rafts anchored at designated points in the open ocean to provide a focal point for assembly of the airdrop array. And Johnston Island as the advanced base for P-2V surveillance aircraft and for recovery of the sampler controllers and the radioactive samplers. On the carrier Princeton, underway in the drop area, overall control was maintained by the task force commander in flag plot. These were the devices tested. Thors supervised the installation at Johnston Island of a Thor launch pad and all supporting equipment, and integrate the entire package into the specially designed tracking and range safety systems. Once more, under the relentless pressure of compressed time schedules, most of the material had to be airlifted by planes of the Air Force Logistics Command and Military Air Transport Service. Everything from missiles and warheads to cement and structural steel was flown in to meet the deadline for the high-altitude events. In support of these high-altitude firings, it was initially planned to operate all array aircraft out of Hawaii. The problems encountered by the Air Task Group while preparing for this phase closely paralleled those experienced during development of the all-airborne concept. There were major problems of control and positioning, and lesser ones dealing with planning and coordination. The selection of aircraft positions, particularly for the technical aircraft, involved so many variables that the configuration of the array itself was ever-changing right up until takeoff time. And on at least 2 occasions, the array was altered while airborne. For the high-altitude events, the RC-121s would be operating as airborne air operation centers for the control and confirmation of safe positioning of all aircraft. 2 other RC-121s carrying multi-frequency radars were on hand to provide data on bomb-produced radar clutter. Varying numbers of C-135s, able to operate at altitudes largely free from weather and dense atmospheric interference, had been modified to carry extensive diagnostic instrumentation for measurement of device performance and effects, as well as to evaluate and develop new diagnostic techniques. Using Christmas-proven procedures, 2 WB-50 weather aircraft were kept in the area as long as possible to ensure a clear line of sight for the critical complex of surface instrumentation below. The C-118 biomedical effects aircraft, which had participated in some of the Christmas missions, were a part of the array. And the SC-54 rescue aircraft was also on hand. One of the diagnostic C-130s operated much as it did at Christmas, except that it remained hundreds of miles away in these events to assess its long-range capabilities. In addition, Strategic Air Command elements of KC-135s and B-47s were airborne to test complex command communication systems during the blackout period, expected to follow the high-altitude nuclear detonations. And a special pilot-to-pilot communications network was built into the operation as a backup to ensure UHF and VHF radio contact with Hawaii in the event of a failure of normal communications. Sometimes at Johnston, and sometimes at the conjugate point of the Earth's geomagnetic field, 2,200 miles to the south in the area of the Fiji Islands, a KC-135 functioned as an airborne ionospheric observatory.
If you found this video very intriguing and you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe on your way out, hit the notification bell, man, so you be, notified whenever I drop some new hot content just like this. I didn't know about Project or Operation Dominic until I started getting on Antarctica theories and Agartha, man, and stuff like that, man. But it's crazy, man. But I found that very informative, man, this video. And if you did too, like I say, don't forget to hit that like button and let me know. And like I say, man, I appreciate all the love, man. It's all love back at you, man. It's your main man Koozie. I'm out. Holla. Y'all take it easy.